WXII 12 News at 4:30 starts right now.
Ahead this morning, buildings destroyed, a lack of resources, and lives lost after Hurricane Maria ravaged Puerto Rico. How the island's responding to the disastrous hit they took just a few days ago. Plus, over 200 people are dead in Mexico after an earthquake shook that country up. How it's still playing a major role in Mexico days after it hit. And the fight against the opioid epidemic continues in the Triad. The changes the county is trying to make sure this epidemic doesn't get any worse. Good morning. It's Friday at 4:30. I'm Brianna Connor.
And I'm meteorologist Michelle Kennedy. We are looking at a very warm day ahead here and still tracking Hurricane Maria. It has been such an active storm and devastating for so many folks, and actually catastrophic damage is what has happened in Puerto Rico. So take a look at this. We are looking at Maria this morning, yes indeed, as still a strong hurricane moving through towards the Turks and Caicos Islands. Let's look at the latest update. 125-mile-an-hour winds. It is a Category 3 storm still, and we see this moving now a little bit more slowly to the northwest at 7 miles an hour. It has not yet taken that northerly turn that we hoped it would. Instead, it is still on track to impact a majority of the Turks and Caicos Islands here. So as it slowly moves through, eventually later today, a northeasterly turn will take place. And then that shift also taking place off of our coast and the Bahamas as we go into Saturday morning into the evening hours, still Category 2. And possibly Category 2 off the coast of Hilton Head Island. And you can see here as it tracks north Monday, just off of our coast of Wilmington and close enough to Bermuda and to towns like St. George that they're going to be watching this storm very closely. How far west or east does it jog? There is still about 150-mile error in that forecast right now. So we're going to keep our eye on this system, but Hurricane Maria, still a very powerful Category 3 hurricane, continues up the coastline and off of our coastline as we head into next week. So we're grateful for that. We still have Tropical Storm Jose, this is now, post-tropical Jose. The system is still bringing in some rain and some winds over the next couple of days, but starting to wind down now into our Saturday. Look at the winds in Nantucket, 50 miles an hour there to 53 at times. It has been strong also all the way back up into Boston, and messy weather for them there, but fortunately the system has weakened. And as we look ahead, we've got those temperatures right now sitting in the upper 60s. We're comfortable at 62 in Galex. You're walking out the door to 68 in Greensboro, some patchy fog, and then you're going to see some pretty nice conditions today. By lunchtime, you've got temperatures warming all the way into the upper 80s. Feeling good. We'll have more details on your weekend forecast. It's coming up.
Well, days after Hurricane Maria destroyed Puerto Rico, the island is in dire need of help. Rescuers are still working to find anyone trapped by floodwater. For now, officials don't know how many people may have been killed. NBC's Dan Shinneman has our report.
In Puerto Rico, Hurricane Maria is gone, but its impact is everywhere. Search and rescue efforts have started. A cherry picker was needed to get one elderly couple to safety. Some residents are pleading for help. This video shot by a woman who says she is trapped by floodwaters. The hurricane flipped over cars, left piles of mangled metal and flattened trees. Fuel is scarce and lines are long. Maria also left Puerto Rico powerless. 3.5 million people are without electricity.
I knew electricity was going to be bad because our electricity infrastructure is really old, so we knew that was going to get affected.
Communication is a problem throughout the island. Cell phone service is unreliable.
Everybody has felt the pain and the anxiety of not speaking to loved ones.
For now, until relief arrives, all families on the island can do is wait and hope. Dan Shenneman, NBC News.
And in Mexico, the earthquake has caused 270 confirmed deaths so far, but rescuers aren't giving up the search for survivors. Mexico's president says they believe some people are still alive in the rubble of 10 collapsed buildings. The Navy says all of the pupils have been accounted for at a destroyed school, but there are still signs of life, leaving them to believe people are still trapped. Numerous volunteers are stepping up to help. Rescuers from the U.S. and as far away as Israel have been sent to help find survivors. Surrey County has got a new job listing for someone specifically to fight the opioid epidemic. County leaders are looking for an opioid response director. They want that person to have some experience in law enforcement or in health and human services. Commissioners also want the person they choose to create a strategic plan to combat opioid abuse.
It's destroying families, it's destroying our community, but it's also, from the governmental side, it's a huge strain on our resources, whether it's law enforcement or human services.
According to the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services, 646 people wound up in the ER because of opioid overdoses across the state in August. That's an average of 1 every 69 minutes. Yesterday, WXI 12 had the chance to speak with North Carolina Congressman Mark Walker. The Republican predicts his party will pass immigration reform, repeal and replace Obamacare, and pass tax reform. The GOP tax plan is expected to come out next week. It'll probably provide about $1.5 trillion in cuts. Critics say it's going to add to the national debt, but Walker has a different opinion.
There may be some temporary over the next few years, but according to our forecasts over the next 10 years, this will not add to the debt if you look at it from a 10-year picture window. If you're just calculating the first 2 or 3 years, there may be some addition, but long-term these reforms are supposed to pay off over the next 10 years.
Concerning health care, Congressman Walker says the Affordable Care Act is failing and it's time to try a different option. We also spoke with Congresswoman Virginia Foxx in Mount Airy. She says she's not familiar with the new GOP plan to repeal and replace the ACA, but she's generally on board with the effort.
But what I know about Graham Cassidy is it repeals Obamacare. I have voted over 70 times to repeal and replace Obamacare. And my assumption is that I will do it as many times as it takes to actually do the repeal.
Congresswoman Foxx was in Mount Airy visiting Millennium Charter Academy, where she received the Merit Shop Champion Eagle Award. Happening now, Thomasville police are looking for a man they think's behind more than 20 car break-ins. Thomasville police have already arrested Elijah Shepard. Now they're trying to catch up with Nijah Howard. The two are accused of breaking into cars in the Hasty neighborhood earlier this week. The surveillance video shows one of the break-ins happening. Shepard faces 28 charges and is scheduled to appear in court next month. If you know where Howard is, you're asked to call Thomasville police. And in Burlington, police are still looking for the man who robbed a woman and assaulted her. Police say it happened around 9:15 last night on Ramada Road. They say a young man with dreadlocks pointed a gun at a 48-year-old woman, punched her in the head, and stole her money. No word this morning on how she's doing. Looking ahead, heads up to drivers in the Triad. Part of I-40 is going to close down in Greensboro for construction this weekend. The eastbound lanes between Highway 220 and I-85 North are going to shut down tonight at 8. Workers are going to be repaving that road. Drivers can use the Greensboro Urban Loop to get around it. The roads reopen 6 Monday morning. Coming up next, he's been described as Rocket Man, but now he's had enough. What North Korean leader Kim Jong-un is saying about President Donald Trump in an escalating war of words. Plus, Mark Zuckerberg finally has the floor to speak on the Russia and now Facebook investigation, how he says the company plans to end the scandal.